but it gives them the same status. They are both Her Majesties. You don't find that in a republic. There's not the president's loyal opposition. They don't refer to the Republicans as that. So I think those concepts are very much monarchical concepts, and the examples Tom gave of using force may be regrettable, but they're extreme. The American equivalent, if you wanted, the War Measures Act was the Civil War, I suppose. So I mean, if you're going to compare use of force in societies, you can go to extremes, and then it becomes an absurdity.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to give Tom 30 seconds, which will be taken from his next answer.
You say dignity. I would ask that someone please go ask the descendants of some Japanese Canadians or Italian Canadians who were incarcerated during the Second World War. These were people who were born in Canada but were imprisoned because of their ethnic origin. Now that happened while we were a constitutional monarchy. And there are many, many other examples. Again, it doesn't matter. Monarchies, republics, they're all guilty of abuses, but republics, I think, less so if we have a lot of say in it.
I can ask such Japanese Canadians. I have several friends who are interned, and they're staunch monarchists. And my family are Italian, so I know about the internment in the Second World War.
So how do you explain the monarchy?
I'm going to have to make us move on, because we've got some more questions to go through.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hi, this is for Gary. You clearly agree that we need some sort of democratic freedoms in Canada, but then I would just like to know, what right does the royal family have to limit these freedoms and not allow Canadians true self-determination?
I don't believe they're limited. I mean, the question, again, this is the issue that we're differing on, and I agree we're obviously talking about different things. To me, democracy is about power, the exercise of power in a state. Monarchy is about the nature of authority. And as I say, Plato talks about the differences. In modern terms, we talk about authority and power. If you don't understand, I mean, in all societies, authority and power are separate things. If you were to ask me, do I believe in hereditary exercise of power as we understand the term in political science, I would be no. I believe in a monarchy. A constitutional monarchy is a balance of those forces. The question is to have them exercised in the right place. Putting an elected head of state does not increase the democratic power in a country. You want not just a limited democracy. I'm in favor of full democratic institutions, and I have no problem with the Bill of Rights, the Charter of Rights and things like that. I'm in favor of those things in their proper place. If you put democracy in the wrong place in society, you cause problems. You don't make things freer. You make society less free.
I would just like to know, how can you say that having a non-elected head of state is democratic?
It's not democratic. Democracy, as I said, is not about the headship of state. That's the whole point. I'm not defending the head of state as democratic. I'm saying that democracy is about the exercise of power by the elected, by the government, not by the state itself.
But we don't have true power for the elected people because our head of state is not elected.
Actually,
yes, but that's not what democracy is about. That's my whole point.
If I may, sorry sir, I think there's a confusion in the audience between the head of government and the head of state, which is a confusion commonplace amongst many people in Canada. So maybe
yeah, the head of government, which is responsible in our system to the elected legislatures. In that sense, we have an elected head of government, and I'm all in favor of that. The point, as I said, in a monarchy, and we're talking about a constitutional monarchy in Canada's case, we're talking about a democratic monarchy. A democratic monarchy has elected legislatures who decide the day-to-day policies of the government, and the government is accountable to the elected legislature. That's democracy, and I'm in favor of full democracy there.
Tom, you have 90 seconds.
I'm just going to say one thing, and that is that members of the royal family and the monarchy are almost two different things. It's like the crown and the monarchy. The crown is the Canadian state, and we can rename the crown and call it the Canadian state anytime we want to when we become a republic. So the monarchy and the royal family, they couldn't care less whether Canada is a republic or Australia. As a matter of fact, some of them are on record. Prince Charles, for instance, they don't relish the idea of being head of state in this particular case, New Zealand and Australia. And I'm sure they're probably wondering why the heck we haven't gotten off our butts and dealt with this sooner. So the fact that some people don't draw a distinction between the monarchy and the royal family. The people themselves are separate. what we've got in Canada are a group of people who want to keep the institution contrary to the will of the people. And for quite some time, most Canadians don't want the monarchy, and unless we do something about it, we're going to be stuck with it for a while.
It's interesting, Tom, that you, again, like I suggested, Republicans talk about the will of the people, which is defined by Tom Freda. I never talk about the will of the people, because there is no will of the people. There are will of individual people. There are the will of the majority, which changes from time to time, from election to election, from referendum to referendum.
We have a free society?
Yes, and freedom means the will of the individual, not the will of the people.
I'm not free to choose our head of state. We don't have a free society.
The headship of state is not something that's up for choice. That's not part of democracy, as I said.
That's unacceptable.
I didn't get to choose you as a Canadian citizen, so I don't have freedom.
Can I ask...
You're right to choose that.
Let me ask the Republican fellow. Sorry, I came in late. I had a prior function to attend to, but you may have already addressed this. If so, I apologize. What is it about republicanism versus monarchism that has you so troubled? In our country, where we have constitutional convention, where really, in effect, in reality, the monarchy cannot exert control over our country. They cannot exert control over our government. The Queen, by constitutional convention, for example, has to appoint whoever the Prime Minister chooses as Governor General. If she didn't, there'd be a huge uproar. In fact, one of the most eminent constitutional scholars in our country, Professor Hogg, has stated that he believes, in all his scholarly wisdom, that there would actually be a statute passed, or a constitutional amendment passed, which would further limit the royal prerogative in that sense. So I'm just curious what your comments are on that, sir.
Well, you're quite correct. Since 1947, and actually since the Statute of Westminster, the influence of the monarchy over the operation of our government has been minimized to the point right now where the monarchy has no effective power in Canada. And that's not really what this is about. As a matter of fact, that's one of the problems. The void that's filled, the removal of the royal prerogative, hasn't been filled by anyone other than the Prime Minister's office. And that, we can go right to the news of today with this prorogation. A pure abuse. Under normal circumstances, a head of state is supposed to be a referee. Is supposed to help avoid abuses by the government. The Governor General could not say no to the Prime Minister in both situations. If she would have, it would go right back to the 1920s, to the King Byng affair. That's the last time a Governor General has defied the will of the Prime Minister. So what we have is essentially a de facto head of state that does nothing but hand out book awards and open museums and plant trees. What kind of a head of state is that? A head of state is supposed to be a person, somebody set up to be an arbiter, to be someone who can step in when government steps out of line. We have nothing resembling that. So the monarchy's demise in Canada, we have a republic under another name. That's what we have right now. We have a republic already. On paper we're a monarchy, but we have a republic, and all the powers that have been devolved away from it have gone directly to the Prime Minister's office. Well, Canadians don't agree with that. I
certainly agree with your comments with respect to the lack of initiative taken by our Governors General. What makes you think, though, that, I mean, there's a counter-argument to that, and I did my law schooling in the United States where a lot of judges are elected, for example, and we appoint our judges here, and the counter-argument to that is, well, do we want a head of state who necessarily is looking to get re-elected? Are we looking for a head of state who's going to react to the will of the people as opposed to doing what is right, that sober second thought, which is a similar argument made for why, for example, we have an unelected Senate, we have an appointed Senate.
Tom, I know you'd love to respond there, but we are running low on time. So
all right, well, we can't have an apolitical head of state in a republic. That's quite possible.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, I think Tom in his answer betrays one of the recurring faults of Republicans who say they want this appointed or elected president and everything is going to be fine. Tom's objecting to the Governor General's decision to grant a prorogation to the Prime Minister. Now, whether that was right or wrong in the sense of whether or not the Prime Minister should have requested the prorogation, he's now saying, oh, the Governor General, this shows how awful it is because the Governor General didn't do what he wanted the Governor General to do. It's not that the Governor General had the right to say, no, the Governor General